Right. So, ladies and gentlemen, we now start with this post-lunch session, 250 million smart meters, and I'm going to take the privilege of introducing our chair, our moderator, and our esteemed speakers. So, let me first begin by introducing our chair for the session, Shri Vishal Kapoor, Director, Ministry of Power. And ladies and gentlemen, he coordinates power sector schemes of IPDS, NEC, smart grids for smart cities, and piloting distribution reforms. He's involved in the UDAY scheme for financial and operational turnaround of DISCOM. He also coordinates with PFC for day-to-day and perspective planning at the ministerial level. Let's welcome our chair with a big round of applause, Shri Vishal Kapoor. Let me now go on to introducing and welcoming our moderator for this session, Ms. Apurva Chaturvedi, a clean energy professional, currently working as Senior Clean Energy Specialist in the Clean Energy and Environment Office in USAID, India. She has over 12 years of experience in clean energy and power sector. She has the experience of designing and managing several clean energy programs at USAID. Let's welcome her in our midst with a big round of moderator, Ms. Chaturvedi. Moving on to our speakers now, I'd like to extend a very warm welcome to Shri Rajesh Gowda, MD, BESCOM. He is an IAS, presently working as Managing Director of Bangalore Electricity Supply Company from September 2019 to date. And there are several prominent posts held by him. If I have to name a few, Assistant Commissioner, Doda Ballapura Subdivision Land Acquisition Office, Bangalore Development Authority, Additional Deputy Commissioner, Bangalore Rural District, just to name a few. The others are on the screen. A warm welcome to Shri Rajesh Gowda. Moving on, I'd like to extend a very warm welcome to Mr. Sylvain Juanu, who's the Director of EDF. He's the Director of EDF and has been strengthening his expertise in the operation of electricity distribution networks within the EDF group for 10 years. He's specialized in the development of smart grids, automation solutions, and smart metering, maintenance and operation of primary electrical substations. Mr. Juanu joined EDF Group in 2009 and is now the Director of EDF. A big round of applause for Mr. Juanu. Let's now welcome in our midst Shri A.P. Singh, Head IT UPPCL. He is the CISO at UPPCL. He has over 12 years of experience in the Indian Electricity Distribution Company. He holds very deep understanding of IT audit and project management. And his commitment, he's very committed to working with integrity and ethics. A big round of applause to Shri A.P. Singh, ladies and gentlemen. Let me now go on to introducing Ms. Deepti Dutt, who comes on with almost 51 years of work experience. She focuses on strategic initiatives for India public sector. Currently, she focuses on areas such as smart infrastructure, cities, utilities and transport, digital agriculture and GovStart program. And she's been with Amazon Web Services since July 2018. Prior to this, she has led Smart Cities Initiative at Microsoft and IBM Global Business Services. Let's welcome Ms. Deepti Dutt from Amazon Web Services with a big round of applause. We now welcome Shri Anurag Johri, Senior Principal Utilities, Accenture in India. Now, he's a Senior Principal with more than 16 years of experience in strategy development, operations improvement, sales and marketing transformation and program management. He's worked with private and public companies in 6 countries. And in his current assignment, he's leading large-scale transformational programs in several areas. So a big round of applause for Shri Anurag Johri as I welcome him to the conference. Let us now welcome Mr. Vijayadas Basak, the Chief Commercial of Tata Power Delhi Distribution Limited Public-Private Partnership between Tata Power and the Government of National Capital Territory of Delhi and Non-Executive Director of Tata Power Ajmer Distribution Limited. He comes armed with 3 decades of experience in power distribution utility. A big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for Shri Vijayadas, Chief Commercial Tata Power Delhi Distribution Limited. Welcome, sir. Let me now go on to introducing and welcoming Shri Bikash Diwan, Managing Director, Dhaka Power Distribution Company. And he's on the board of Dhaka Electric Supply Company Limited and Managing Director at Dhaka Power Distribution Company. Previously, he was Chief Engineer at Bangladesh Power Development Board. Mr. Diwan received an Chittagong University of Engineering. Let's welcome Shri Diwan in our midst with a big round of applause. And we will also be joined by Shri Anant Venkateshwaran, Director of ISGF Master Classes, ISGF, industry professional with over 2 decades of Based in Colorado, USA, he comes armed with 2 decades of international experience in business, financial, regulatory, policy, operations, and technology aspects of the energy and utility sector. He serves on several technical standards, advisory, and tutorial committees. Is a teacher, presenter, panelist, moderator, and speaker at international venues including Distributech, ISGW, IEEE, and SIGRE. And he's worked with utilities and energy companies across the globe. So a big round of applause for Sri Venkateshwar. With that, I will now hand over the proceedings very humbly to our moderator, Ms. Apurva Chaturvedi. Ma'am, all yours. Ma'am, we can't hear you.
Ma'am, you are unmuted.
Can we
You are
request you
muted.
to unmute?
Please,
Yeah. Sorry, my computer is giving me a little bit of problem, so I'm joining by my phone. Uh, First of all, welcome to the chair, Mr. Vishal Kapoor from the Ministry of Power, and all the panelists in today's session. This session is very pertinent, especially in an era that we are living now, the COVID era. And we'll see why. I'm sure all the panelists will touch upon that. But without much ado, let me hand over this to, and I request the chair, Mr. Vishal Kapoor, to please say the opening remarks. So, Vishal, please.
Thank you, Apurva. Good afternoon, everyone attending this webinar of the on the 250 million smart meters. I'm really honored to be on this panel uh, with which comprises of such a delightful mix of distinguished speakers. So, ensuring 24 by 7 reliable quality and affordable power supply to all citizens is a key enabler to the Government of India's vision for becoming a US $5 trillion economy by 2024. Ensuring operational and financial sustainability of distribution segment of the sectoral value chain, therefore, becomes a central theme to the government's initiative for the sector. We have achieved universal household access in the year 2019, and therefore we are looking at shifting gears to a new paradigm that borders on improving sustainability, consumer services, quality and reliability of power, which call for improved governance, increased private participation, and higher accountability. One would see here that all these measures and reforms somehow or the other bring consumers into focus. I think uh, therefore, it won't be an exaggeration to say that the time for reforms 2.0 in the power sector has now arrived. Out of the several reform initiatives that have been initiated, this ministry, the Ministry of Power, has announced a target of deploying 250 million smart prepaid meters in 3 years, increasing private participation in the distribution sector, and also integration of consumer centricity in the central operational philosophies of DISCOMs. Such transformational initiatives offer tremendous opportunities to leapfrog technologies, improve efficiencies, and move to the next generation utilities. When we look back in time, in some years, the proposed rollout of 250 million smart prepaid meter will most probably be recognized as a game changer for the power distribution sector. Smart metering, along with associated communication infrastructure and backend integration, will have a major impact on the commercial performance of DISCOMs. The impact that the smart meters can have on DISCOMs has amplified during the COVID-19 pandemic. Even during the lockdown, some DISCOMs managed to maintain billing rates of almost 95% in smart meter enabled areas. And that we have actually seen that smart meters and increasing deployment of smart meters has become the central theme in almost all over the world power sector as a response to COVID pandemic. We had issued an advisory to states to install to install 250 million smart meters in prepaid mode to all the states by March 2023. We are open to innovative methods that can help address key issues and challenges faced by state utilities in the smart meter implementation. We, in association with USAID, had organized a consultative workshop in November last year. It's just about a year back that this workshop was held to collate feedback from various stakeholders. This workshop spread over 2 days. We got a lot of very positive and a very good feedback, and we could develop understanding in as to what the smart meters rollout should look like in India. And uh, there are 3 or 4 things that we actually understood in that meeting. Number one was industry readiness. EMA claims to be having a cumulative capacity of 80 million smart meters per year. And this should be enough for a rollout of 250 million smart meters over the next 3 years with some added support. And with the with the government coming out with smart metering guidelines, which have been hosted on the National Smart Grid Mission website, and the smart meter bidding documents, I think those documents would be enough to help private participation and even foreign participation with collaboration of Indian entities in India to develop more smart meters. Utilities have also are one of the major stakeholders in the whole process, and this Ministry and National Smart Grid Mission has been working closely with USAID to develop these guidelines, these smart standard bidding documents to select the smart meter service provider on a TOTEX mode, design, build, finance, own, operate, and transfer basis, something akin to the highway projects. It's a classic PPP model wherein on the public private spectrum of the PPP, it is slightly tilted towards the private sector. In fact, quite substantially shifted towards the private sector side on that domain. This will help state power utilities to have a standardized framework and ensure adoption and implementation at scale. The good part about this standard bidding document is that the state utilities will not have to pay upfront for these charges, for the capex charges, and the capex charges will be recovered from the improvement in the revenue recoveries by reduction of losses over a period of time. We are also working with several donors to develop tools that will help stakeholders in the smart grid journey. With USAID, we have developed an investment analysis tool that aims to help DISCOMs evaluate the cost benefit of smart grid and smart metering projects. This investment tool does not only cover the financial benefits but also the economic benefits, socio-economic benefits, so that a complete picture of a project can be found out, and even to the extent that projects that are socio-economically more viable but probably financially not viable, it can also help us to understand the level of subsidies that are required, or the viability gap that is required to be funded from the government. Another smart grid readiness and self-assessment tool has been formulated, wherein utilities can self understand by a self entry of parameters as to where they stand in the smart grid ladder, and how and what they should do to move ahead in which field of smart grids. Smart metering standards, we know that BIS has already issued those standards, and on consumer engagement, the Ministry of Power is in partnership with the USAID Spark program is in the process of developing consumer engagement guidelines for rollout of smart prepaid meters. And once finalized, these guidelines and associated framework will support DISCOMs in enhancing consumer acceptability towards smart meters. Uh, Capacity building is yet another important initiative or an important thing that will be required for upscaling the smart meters. The ministry is also developing the Smart Grid Knowledge Center at Manesar in PGCIL as a global center of excellence. Again, and this center will foster partnerships, innovation, and entrepreneurship in smart grid technologies and create capacities in the power sector. It will also assist stakeholders embrace a new era of innovation, leverage collective knowledge, and make meaningful connections. We talked about the smart meter bidding guidelines. The prepaid smart meter model bidding guidelines in the TOTEX mode have already been uploaded on the website of the National Smart Grid Mission, recognizing that we need to further improve these guidelines by reinforcing payment securities, giving more comfort to the service providers. We are deliberating on possibilities of prepayment, not only by consumers to DISCOMs for electricity usage, but also as a kind of prepayment facility to the AMI service providers from DISCOMs for the services they render. We are also working on a common backend infrastructure facility which could host a centralized backend infrastructure for AMI services for states and utilities that desire this kind of a facility. With this basic groundwork done, the ministry is also now looking forward to jointly working with the states in their smart prepaid metering journey. There are several things that are in the works right now, and I strongly believe that our strong commitment and call for action will transform the power distribution sector. To me, smart meter deployment is an idea whose time has certainly come. I'm sure that the deliberation in this session would be fruitful and we would gain some insights for the same. I would like to apologize for having to leave this session now because of a engagement that has come up. But let me tell you that we do keep track of the feedbacks from all such events through various means and tailor our interventions accordingly. And we would do so in this case as well. Thank you very much, and thank you to the organizers of the distribution utility meet for calling me here. Please, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Vishal, and thank you for giving the overall perspective from the ministry's perspective on smart meters. I think what you have done really is set the context so well that it makes my job as a moderator presenting the context much easier because you've covered most of the points. I would also sort of highlight that this also talks about the strength of the partnership that USAID has with the Ministry of Power in the various distribution reform interventions, smart meter being one of them, where the partnership is so strong that we are supporting the ministry in most of the endeavors as far as smart meters is concerned, along with, of course, several other interventions in the distribution sector per se. So thank you, Vishal. I understand the ministry is on some tough targets and you're a busy person. So, but we'll keep you updated on whatever recommendations or key highlights of this session later on. So thank you, Vishal. Um, uh, with that, I would like to just set the context or the tone of this session. Uh, uh, I think it wouldn't have been more appropriate to have a session on smart meter, as I said in the beginning also, in this situation that we are in, and we are going to be in this for a long time. But it's not just because of this pandemic. It is also because any other disaster that happens which requires less of human interventions and as much digitization as possible, smart meters is definitely one of the key elements of making a utility self-reliant and ready to go and kind of becoming more resilient in any disaster or pandemic kind of situations. With that, we most of us are already aware, and the chair also mentioned the Government of India does have a huge target set out for the next 3 years of deployment of close to 250 million smart prepaid meters. Now, that's a huge challenge and an opportunity for the markets as well. But as mostly what I know of, this is one of the largest deployments anywhere in the world. So it is going to bring in its own set of challenges. And if it works in India, it would probably be a lesson or a learning lesson, as well as a kind of a great market for other nations in similar economies, particularly in South Asia as well. And we do have our guest from Bangladesh who would be speaking about his own journey in smart meters. And if you look at the Indian market, it is close to around 20 billion US dollar itself. So in fact, while I was speaking to some of my counterparts from the utilities in other South Asian nations, uh, people did say that they're looking at the Indian story, because if this is the scale and size of smart meter market in the country, it is definitely going to bring the cost down, and they would like to leverage that opportunity as well. So if we look at the benefits, already Vishal mentioned about the benefits as far as the revenue increase per consumer per meter is there. But if you look at the ESL story, there also the benefits have outweighed costs. The average revenue increase versus the cost per consumer per meter in the state of Uttar Pradesh itself was around 200 versus 85 invested. And in New Delhi area, it was 500 versus 85. So that's a huge benefit. Similarly, if we look at the model, we will if we look at the smart grid model, what has really come out is that the TOTEX or the CAPEX models, as Chair also pointed out, are the most feasible model. And this is what, as Ministry also pointed out, this is the model that they're going forward with. The standard bidding documents for the AMI service provider have already something that we did, we supported the ministry on, have already been released by NSGM. So that's the kind of model probably would be more feasible in the smart grid deployment journey within the country. As I already pointed out in the COVID, this is also a kind of preparation of the DISCOMs for making them self-reliant and resilient in case of pandemics or any kind of disaster. And as the chair also pointed out, that smart meter enabled DISCOMs maintain 90% billing efficiency even during the lockdown stage. And that itself is a huge, I would say, benefit coming out of smart meters. In fact, in Bhutan, they do have they have already announced that they're accelerating their timelines for smart meter deployment, particularly because of the experience of metering and billing in the lockdown stage, where in a territory like Bhutan, it was even more difficult to go out and read the meters and then bill accordingly. So they've kind of accelerated their timelines as well. Similarly, if we look at the potential, as I said, in India itself, it's a 20 billion market. I'm sure my esteemed panelist from Bangladesh will be speaking about his own kind of smart meter RFP rollout, but they do have a net target of 1.4 million to be converted into smart meters. They already have taken a RFP out, and I will leave it to him to talk more about it. Next slide, please. Is the next slide on? Yeah, please, next slide, please. So, yeah, this. So already, Vishal also pointed out that we did support the ministry in so we actually believe that a consultative approach for rolling out smart meter journey would be the best. And that's why a national consultation for 2 days was done in November last year, which highlighted some key recommendations. And we had representation from almost all stakeholders, whether it was the utilities, the central agencies like CA, NSGM, ESL, PFCs, the industry associations were there, the meter manufacturers, system integrators, communication, analytics companies, think tanks, and of course by my multilateral agencies, all were there, and their views were heard. There were a lot of presentations on these key thematic areas, and the findings of which were then submitted to the ministry for them to take it forward and design the rollout strategy. So this was done last year, and that kind of formed the basis for next slide, please. So some of the, I think Vishal also pointed out, but these were some of the key considerations that you require a system integrator and an end-to-end AMI service provider, because that kind of makes it a one point kind of entity which takes care of the entire implementation and is responsible for handling the various aspects of setting up the smart meters. So that was one of the key consideration. Also, it was seen that industry was quite ready. It had the capacity to provide the volumes, but only when the volumes are kind of the visibility, volume visibility is there. So if that is there, the industry is ready to gear up. Then similarly, the cost benefit and the business case needed to be developed upfront. And service base or the Totex mode was a preferred mode, and vendor should be free to choose any communication technology, but has to commit to some service level agreements. Similarly, cloud-based MDM systems were preferred because they are quick to deploy, they are modular, they can be upgraded remotely. Customer engagement has already been highlighted by the chair also. It's critical because you're talking about smart meters, which is a two-way communication and involves the consumer and the utility together. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Yeah. So just to give a, I'm sorry for this background noise. Just to give a kind of a scenario or one shot implementation, what are the different enablers that are required if smart meters have to be deployed? So, of course, one of the key things is that we need to have the right kind of a policy and a regulatory environment which would support the cause of a rollout scheme. So this could be in the form of tariff structures and use case contours like a time of day tariff, demand response, or customer analytics, and so on. Similarly, you require this kind of a, and especially a deployment of this scale requires a very careful, intricate planning and design, which in my mind, the first thing is like onboarding of states is very important. I mean, no matter how much policy or regulatory environment is conducive, at the end of the day, unless you have the states on board, it's the rollout would always be a challenge. Secondly, all the rollout documents, whether these are detailed project reports or standard bidding documents, which can be customized or adopted as such by the state discoms, they need to be in place, and they are already in place. Similarly, how does a decision maker at the discom level or at the state level makes a sound decision whether it is wise enough to, or what are the costs and benefits of deploying smart meters in the area. So decision making investment tools, what the chair pointed out, we have supported them in developing, and I'll be talking about it later. These decision making tools would come very handy in taking such decisions. As far as the execution, the third is the how do you implement it on ground. So that would require a selection of a service provider, a project management unit to be set up, and good governance. Similarly, a continuous project monitoring and impact assessment based on certain KPIs that needs to be in place. And the use case planning and deployment, and then also looking at new applications for increasing effectiveness or sort of making smart grids benefits really come out in the true sense. Similarly, customer engagement is, of course, a very, very key to smart grid deployment. There were cases where there was a lot of resistance in replacing the meters with the smart meters because the customers were not duly engaged. So their engagement and strategy has to be in place. They need to be made aware of the benefits. So certain awareness campaigns, certain initiatives where the customer, is truly engaged. Their feedback is also heard, and then information sharing. And of course, last but not the least, you need to have the right set of skill sets to be able to take this on within the DISCOMs, within other agencies as well. So human capacity building and also strengthening the institutions to take on, to kind of re-energize and reskill themselves, that is very important. And in that case, even looking at twinning and partnerships with agencies which have already done this, gone through that set of challenges, and leveraging from their learnings and expertise would be very handy. Next slide, please. So this is just a kind of what USAID has done and how USAID has partnered with different, with Government of India, Ministry of Power and other agencies in their smart grid journey. In fact, we had an earlier bilateral program called the PACE DTA program, where we did a couple of key enabling as the first stage. For example, we supported the Ministry of Power in developing model smart grid regulations. Similarly, we were asked to have short term. At that time, the 14 pilots were already in various stages of implementation, but ministry was looking for a quick win, and they asked us to conduct a pilot right from design up to end implementation and monitoring. And we went and did that in Ajmer. And we also supported the Tripura pilot of the government in deployment. Similarly, we did cost benefit analysis of two of Government of India's own smart grid pilot projects. And then we developed a course, a 3-day kind of a course on smart grids, which was then also rolled out and is being used by the National Smart Grid Mission even now. Then we developed, at the same time, National Smart Grid Mission was established, and we developed or supported the ministry in developing its implementation framework. And then we compiled various studies, insights from different pilots, and in the form of a case study, and we kind of released it as well. But that formed the basis of our smart grid work. And then we transited to another bilateral, under which we are right now partnering with ISGF on this, which is called the Smart Spark program, which is a smart power for advancing reliability and connectivity. And this has an objective to support, to basically modernize the electricity distribution sector through various interventions. And some of the key things, Vishal has already highlighted them in his opening remarks, but just to sort of kind of again encapsulate it. One of the things is the national rollout of smart meter, which includes the standard bidding document development, the guiding framework, the cost benefit analysis tool, which will help the decision makers to take sound investment decisions regarding the cost versus benefit. Similarly, we are also supporting the Ministry of Power in ushering in new private sector participation models in distribution. Similarly, we have worked a lot in EV charging infrastructure along with ESL, and this is being seen as a new revenue stream for the DISCOMs. Then, as Vishal pointed out, we are supporting the Ministry of Power in establishing their Smart Grid Knowledge Center as a center of excellence globally, and especially for Asian countries, which has similar challenges, and it is easier for them to probably look at Indian Center of Excellence with all the information and resources which can be easily customized in their own countries. So that vision we have developed for the SGKC with different functionalities like innovation park, a technology incubation, and that vision roadmap was released this year in June by the Ministry of Power Additional Secretary. Then we again keep continuing our training courses in smart grid even as we speak. So these are some of the things that we are doing right with the Ministry of Power, and we would be now happy to go and work with the states to actually deploy it at the state level. Next slide, please. I think that's it. So with this contextual presentation, I would now like to invite initiate the panel discussion. We have great lineup of speakers from utilities, from communications, and also from the other region like Bangladesh here. So without much ado, now can I invite Mr. Rajesh Gowda, Managing Director, BESCOM, to please present or speak his key insights.
Yeah, good morning, all. This is Rajesh here. Today is okay. Yeah, good morning, all. This is Rajesh here, Managing Director of BESCOM. Here, in opportunity for us in BESCOM is that we have about 1.2. About 12 million installations in southern districts of Karnataka. So we have about 8 districts, but majority of the coverage is in the Bangalore metropolitan area zone, where we have about 6.5 million meters. So the challenges for us to go ahead with this program in this IT capital is that one is that the regulator is asking a lot of questions regarding the cost benefit analysis. The number one is that the AT&C loss in BMSZ area is almost 8%, which we have achieved over a period of time. So further reduction because of smart meter may be a big challenge. That is what is the first question. And overall, in the whole scheme of things, I feel that the regulators have not been enrolled into the whole scheme of things, so that we could at least phase it over the next 3 years and see the baseline parameters to what extent they would be they would be really helpful to us. And the second issue would be from our side is that we have decided, again, the board of BESCOM has agreed. So board of BESCOM has agreed for the OPEX model. Under this OPEX model, once again, the regulator has certain other questions regarding the standard bid document, which is already there. Whether it's covering the whole thing, whole encompassing the things of specs and the type of technology, or it should be completely the communication technology should be completely left to the system integrator, and these questions are still with us. The second the thing is that should we have 1 or 2 packages for the whole of 12 million, or it should be multiple packages which should be and whether they can each one of them can speak to each other, and also they can speak to the MDM at the center. There is that we have also have this issue of already having a robust revenue management system, where Infosys was there with us for the last 10 years, and now we have given it to a new person, a new vendor, where whether duplication of work will happen regarding this MDM because already that is there, and whether they'll be able to talk to each other. That is another issue. So overall, about 7-8 parameters which we are trying to convince the regulator, like the meter reading cost, the reduction in AT&C losses, and then probably on other 4 or 5 parameters which we have said that this is going to work. The baseline, above the baseline parameters, the gains to BESCOM would be around 1,300 crores. And if we go on a bid per month per meter for an installation, we would try to discover. So if it crosses about 80, 90, then almost like we are once again the gains appears to be on the lower side. So So some of the questions, I mean, basically now the regulator needs to be enrolled from the, from all of us to ensure that we can go ahead with the project. Otherwise, we are convinced and the board is convinced. So we would like some hand-holding from your side as to how exactly. So I've been talking with Mr. Pillai. So I mean, last week also. So we were. We need some, I mean, case studies which have been completely doing well and where, I mean, it can be demonstrated on a large scale of about, I mean, of such scale which we are trying to take up. So that's from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rajesh Gowda. I think that was some key insights that you gave. With that, can I request Mr. Sylvain, Director ETF, to make his presentation?
Good morning all, good afternoon all. Sylvain this side from EDF, Electricity of France. And on behalf of EDF, I would like first of all to thank you for the kind invitation to share EDF expertise on smart metering, both in France and in India. So today I have decided to focus mainly on the benefit for the grid thanks to the IMI solution based on the program called Linky in France. And I will also bring you through our journey in India and the deployment of the solution in Bihar with a good and very interesting result as the challenges that we are facing right now in this contract with EESL. So first of all, I would like to introduce quickly the EDF group. So actually, what is interesting with us is that we are both a distribution company. So in France, in Europe, and in other countries in South America, Africa. But also we are a system integrator and we are bringing the knowledge of the distribution that we are operating to the other DISCOM which are interested into the execution and implementation of the smart metering program. So to be very precise, we are EDF International Networks. So we are based in India and in other countries, and we are 100% subsidiary of EDF Group. We offer different services, again, based on the knowledge, expertise of Enedis, which is a French DSO. And we bring engineering and operation capabilities to power distribution companies, to development banks, to invent funds, and we have different types of contracts. So it can be consultancy, audit, which is a basic one. It can be project management in terms of smart metering deployment. We are in this category, and also we direct or delegate the management of power distribution concession and company globally. So here you can see the four core business of EDF International Networks. So technical performance, support, innovation, and economic performance, including one very important point in India, which is the technical and non-technical losses. And definitely we have a specific expertise on these points to reducing drastically in a very short time the technical and non-technical losses. So Enedis, let's have a quick stop on this. So it is a French main DSO, 95% of mainland in France. And our public service mission, so actually the state is the main shareholder of the EDF group. It's the continuity and quality of service with non-discriminatory access to the networks, regardless of the electricity supplier. So we are an open market in France. So the role of the DISCOM, of the distribution system operator, is very important to respect this non-discriminatory part. And the smart meter is a key object in this mission, because it will allow Enedis and us to give the data in a very transparent and secure way. So some figures, it's 1.35 million kilometer power lines, 36 million connected customers. It's around 38,500 employees and 11 million customer intervention per year. And what is also very important, and why smart metering again is a very important object in the network is that in France, the distribution generation, the solar panels, the wind turbine, they are mainly connected to the distribution grid. So it's about 4 lakhs generation facilities, 400,000 facilities, which are connected to the distribution in France. So without introducing more, what I'd like to give you is some very important figure about the French journey in smart metering. So it is called Linky, the name of the meter developed by Enedis himself for Enedis itself. So some key figures, the objective is to install 35 million meters at the end of 2021. And we started the journey in 2016, and we have already installed 28.5 million meters as of date. So the pass per day is 30K meters, 30,000 meters.
Your slides are not moving forward. Are you moving them? We're still on slide number 1. Just want to make sure.
Okay, no, I am moving them, but apparently there is an issue on the slide deck. So let me try again. I'll stop sharing and do it again.
Yes, now we can see them.
Yeah. I
Now
was
is it
about
better?
to come in and say that was it a problem with my system that I was not able to see that next slide?
Okay, I think there is still a little issue. So let me.
You can move from the slide that you were speaking right now.
Okay, so now is the slide of Linky. I hope you are able to see it. Maybe not in full screen.
Yes, but we can see them now.
Yes, sir, we will move it.
Okay. So I was telling you about the main figures, these 28.5 million meters already installed in France, the pass of 30K. And the supply of meter is also something very important in all the supply chain. So in France, we have the capacity to produce 7.5 lakh meter per month. And in terms of resources, which is also a challenge sometimes, we need to have trained resources with high quality and security safety standards. So we have 4,000 operators in the field every day. In terms of quality and results, so we are at very high result in terms of success of rate of remote operation, actually 99%. The same for the daily collection. So actually it is a system based on PLC, power line communication, plus GPRS. So between the meter and the data concentrator, we have the PLC technology, and then we have the GPRS from the meter to the head-end system and central system. So this daily collection is also 99%. And per day, it's an amazing amount of data which is collected, transferred, and stored. We have about 1.5 billion data sets collected and transferred every day. In terms of budgets, which is also a very important point that has been highlighted previously, we had a budget initially forecasted at 5 billion euro, and at the end of 2021, we expect to close it by 4.2 billion euro, which is a great success, and we can detail further how we reach to that. And the customer satisfaction, I've seen a question in the chat. The main challenge that we can face sometimes is customer resistance, reluctance, and it has been explained that they need to be aware of what are the benefits. And in France, the satisfaction is 90%, 90% are satisfied with the installation and the benefits of the app and the different services they can have with the solution. So I'm moving to the next slide. Again, I think there is a little issue with this, so let me try to do like that. I hope you can see it now. So what I wanted to do today is to show you 5 solutions of smart services based on this AMI solution of the smart metering. So actually, the smart meter is not only the collection, it's not only enabling of doing some remote data reading or billing, but it's also the first key component of the network. And with my own experience in France 3 years ago, we did work on the solution number 1, which is the improvement of the medium voltage dispatching. So actually, thanks to the AMI solution, and we'll see it on the next slide, we can improve and get better result in the fault management and location. And also we can have a better understanding of how is a medium voltage working. So this is a solution number one I will comment. Solution number two is about the low voltage. Also the low voltage operation are improved thanks to the IMI solution and in terms of faults again and outages. The point number three is definitely the clear vision of the quality and log and record of the quality of supply. So it improves also the client satisfaction because we know exactly what happened in the network and what outages have been faced. The knowledge of your network, the knowledge of your database on the GIS, and thanks to the technology we have chosen the PLC in France, we can improve the network mapping significantly, and I will explain you why. And the last point is a kind of sum up of all the first one, which is a big data which allow the DISCOM to move from curative and preventive maintenance to predictive one. So what a great progress to be able to predict what fault and what issue will happen in the network. This is amazing in terms of saving, in terms of reactivity, and in terms of quality for the customer. So all this linky with the 28.5 millions, it's already real benefits. It's not only on the paper, it has been industrialized, and I will explain you how. So let's have a zoom on the MV dispatch. Still, there is a little challenge in the change of the slide. So let me try to share again. Is it visible now? I think it is visible. So in this, we are talking about the medium voltage dispatch. So here, the essential component is the data concentrator. So we will use the data concentrator of the IMAL solution to collect and to transfer the information of the network, like the fault detector, which is here to inform where is a fault on the medium voltage, and to transfer it not to the IMI system, but also to the SCADA system and to the information system of the MV medium voltage dispatch. So this is something I used to be the head of a dispatch center in France for 3 years, and we got the possibility of collecting this fault detector, which were usually only accessible physically on the site, and we got them on the SCADA. So definitely it's increased the reactivity and the capacity of restoring the network quickly. Also, we have some switchgear permutation, which were only, again, available locally. And through the data concentrator, we transfer the information to the control system, control center, which can take the correct decision. So in this slide, let's have a little example of how to solve the situation in a medium voltage network. So actually, in the situation before IMI solution, when we send the field operator to open and close the switchgear, it would have go in this transformer, distribution transformer. And thanks to the IMI solution, the information of the fault detector of this transformer will be also transferred to the SCADA system, and the operator will go directly to this one. So what does it mean? It means we save the transport of the field operator to this one and then to this one. So all the customer here will get the electricity quicker than it would have been possible before the IMI solution. So this was for the medium voltage. So it has also great benefits for the low voltage. So the low voltage, here we take all the communication channel from the meter to the data concentrator, and then the data concentrator to the operation desk. So what we see here is the meter can send some alarms, and the operator can ping a group of meter to get the information. So whenever there is a fault on the low voltage for the first time in the history, the distribution company has a vision of what is happening. So let's move to the example, and let's have the example of the overvoltage which occur on the network and impact a customer. The breaker of the meter will open and the alarm will be sent to the central system. The problem is identified immediately. And for example, it is in this case a neutral conductor failure, which is invisible to the eye. But in this case, we will easily go to the place and identify with much facility where is the issue. Quality of supply, I will just tell you that the meter log all the outages and the voltage excursion, and they are transferred once a day to the network system analysis. And this is very important to note that it is thanks to the PLC technology that we have. And one point which is so important for the distribution in terms of technical losses is the balance of the phases. And thanks to the smart meter solution and the PLC again, Enedis in France is able to identify the meter phase and then take the action to move the load from one phase to the other one in case it is required. Network mapping. So we have this phase that I was explaining to know which is the phase of the meter, where it is connected, but we have also the identification of the link between the meter and the distribution transformers. So we'll see it on the slide here. So this is what we call the beauty of PLC. So the telecommunication link is more or less same as the electrical link. So it is possible to do a recompilation of this and to re-establish the electrical grid technology. Last but not least is this big data for predictive maintenance. So first of all, thanks to all this data, it's possible to establish and enhance a qualified database on which we will identify what we call signature of common LV grid faults and some experts. So that's why the human is very important and the expert is so important in this, will be able to characterize the fault. And based on that, we will detect oncoming grid fault and intervene immediately. So let's move now to India. And in India, this is a different technology. This is based on GPRS. And what is very powerful in this solution, this is the first of its kind smart metering, prepaid, postpaid, flexible solution with real-time remote connect and disconnect facilities. And just to highlight one point here is that in Bihar, the benefits of this solution is already by 40% increase, and it has been communicated by the Ministry of Power. And we are confident that it will increase again in the coming days and weeks. So in this BR project, the objective is to install 1.8 million smart meters, and it is totally already integrated with the billing system of the BR DISCOM, even the north and the south one. And I want just to highlight here that one of the important key point for success is to work together very closely. And I want to thank all the distribution experts from Bihar, from ESL, from IntelliSmart, who participate on daily basis to build this strong and robust solution. So as of now, we have 85,000 smart meter installed, and the solution has a pan-India scalability. So what is important here is the flexibility of the solution, which is cyber secured with all the important barriers to avoid any attack or any issue on that. And it is a cloud-based network platform which supports the application from the Eden system of Schneider, the MDMS of Accenture, on the GPRS technology. The customer, of course, because it's now very obvious as an app, and can access the consumption, the billing through this app. What is also very important is the staggered disconnection. So when I say flexible, it's really something which is according to the request of the DISCOM, how they want to manage their disconnection, reconnection, which give a very powerful solution on a real-time basis to the DISCOM. And last but not least, dashboard and analytics to know what is happening, where are the needs of improvement, and where are the benefits. So last but not least, and to conclude, I would like also to say that we have a true smart solution, because it's not only the collection, but it is also facilitating the integration of the solar, which is again a very important roadmap in India. And we have installed in the last month the 2 first net metering meters. So I would be very happy to be back next year to present you the result of this, but it is very hopeful. We have also the possibility of the time of use functionality, so to change the tariff according of the time of the day. And last but not least, the load curtailment functionality, which allow to reduce the load in case of needs. So thank you very much. I'm here if you have any question. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sylvain, for this wonderful explanation of how you did it at EDF. And we were, in fact, we have visited your facilities in France, and it's a great facility there. And I mean, it's great to see you working in India and in other countries as well. So with that, can I now request Mr. AP Singh, Head IT UPPCL, to please share his insights with everyone. Thank you. Over to you, Mr. Singh.
Thank you, Apurva, and good afternoon, everyone, on this wonderful day. And we are discussing, am I audible?
Yes, you are, very much.
Thank you, thank you. 250 million smart meters, which is a very ambitious project. And what I would do, I would like to touch the agenda points first, and then put my views on one of the most important things that one agenda point has is integration of smart meters with the other OT technologies. My presentation, please. Bala, can you please upload my presentation?
Yes,
should I do myself?
Yes, no, sir. We'll just upload your presentation.
Thank you.
Mr. Singh, you can start if you want to, just to sort of give a preliminary thing before your presentation.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah,
it's here. It's here.
Yes. So, yeah, next slide, please. Yeah, the agenda point is business model, CAPEX or OPEX. There are actually two views, one from the perspective of utility and other from the service providers. So given an opportunity, utility would always like to have the OPEX mode because there is no upfront investment. But it depends on the cost benefit analysis of the business case. Because drivers like high technical losses may not be there, as the BESCOM people recently just previously pointed out. If the technical losses is high, then there is an easy case, because as of now, the rate for our ESL project is 80 to 90 rupees for the smart meter, which includes definitely many more things. And then just the meter reading, which costs around 9 to 10 rupees. From that perspective, the jump is 8 to 9 times. And obviously, the regulators ask many questions when the expenses on this part increases. So this is one thing. The utility would always like to have the OPEX mode, but it would also depend. When the technical capability of utility person is good, I mean, they have handled the complex technology, then perhaps if the cost benefit of the case is like this, it may be sometime beneficial to go for the CAPEX mode. But in general, the OPEX mode would be preferred. And if the grants are available earlier, as in RAP-DRP case or in IPDS, then perhaps the CAPEX mode would be, would be preferred. But if the same situation is not here, then the OPEX mode would be there. from the perspective of service provider, it depends on the availability of funds to the service provider. Generally, they would prefer the recovery of their investment as early as possible. And they would also see the risk profile of the utility, because if it is less risky, they may go for the OPEX mode. But if they say risk in the long term, then perhaps they would like to have the CAPEX mode. And also it would depend on the where in the on maturity of technology on the evolution curve. So if the technology is already mature, has been used in multiple places, then they have perhaps recovered the cost of innovation, and then accordingly they can go for the OPEX mode. The previous, as I said, previous experiences of similar projects in CAPEX or OPEX would also be in favor of either CAPEX or OPEX from the perspective of service providers. The other important point is the capacity available with the manufacturers, like meter manufacturers. If there is surplus capacity and they are willing to, use their surplus capacity from the, for the long term, then they may opt for the OPEX mode. And if there is a capacity, sort of crunch, then perhaps they would like to have the recovery of their investment first. And the other important point we have seen in the implementation of our ESL project is the partner ecosystem. If the availability of partners like field implementation units, like on the ground meter installation crew and the maintenance crew, then perhaps if they are available for the long time and they are easily available, so that favors the OPEX mode. So further, in all the CAPEX and OPEX, generally in India, the OPEX mode is being offered or preferred, but there are cases for the CAPEX mode. So next slide, please. The next agenda point which I see is standard bidding document and model contract. So as we see, standard bidding document has many advantages, like they offer opportunity for standardization, and most importantly, they offer a technology roadmap and a long-term strategy which help in project design, procurement, implementation, and post-implementation audit. It also provides level playing field for many stakeholders. And further, when the things are clear and the entrepreneurs are able to identify the gaps, it also provides the opportunity for innovations, because they can get data, they can analyze the data from and they can compare various implementations. So that provides the opportunity for innovation, but some space for accommodating local conditions is essential. So standard bidding documents is generally preferred, and a model contract would help the utilities and the implementation agencies as well. Next slide, please. So one of the agenda point is use of smart meters with rooftop solar and edge of the grid solutions. So it is always good to have uniformity in use of meters. As of now, we use separate net meters. Then generally the smart metering project is running on different platform. But as we see in our experience, when we try to implement a pilot project for the rooftop solar, P2P kind of pilot project for that was based on a blockchain platform, and then we realized that use of smart meters can be made in place of the net meters which we normally procure for such implementation. So if we use more smart meters in the rooftop solar, then definitely the more opportunity for P2P contracts. And further, as the data repository is common for all the net meter and smart meters, then it provides opportunity for analysis of the capacity, the local infrastructure level, and the technical losses, because it is also seen when we deploy more rooftop solars, then we need to look into the technical loss side, because sometimes they increase because of harmonics and other things. And when we use the smart meters for rooftop solar, it also provides opportunity for diverse services like aggregators. There can be many aggregators who would like to combine, who offer their services if they have large, they have the common source of data and large number of their consumers. So this is one thing which, generally smart meter would be preferred as in place of the smart net meters which we are using as right now. Next slide, please. It is regarding prepaid or postpaid. Or mix of both. Any implementation or any offer would have to have both. Consumers should have a choice of prepaid or postpaid. Any service provider would have to provide both. So as of now, we have multiple modes of prepaid mechanism like CTS, currency token system, STS, that is standard transfer specification, and smart prepaid. Among three, smart prepaid is always preferred because it is possible to switch between prepaid to postpaid easily through the backend configuration, while in other two, it is difficult to do that because you have to replace the meter and do the site work. So, but consumers, more smart prepaid, prepaid meters or postpaid would depend on the profile of the consumers of the utility, because if they are, expense sensitive, they are very, they are sensitive to the bill expenses. They may prefer the prepaid system. But if that is not the case, then usually people prefer the postpaid system because of, disconnection has more cost to them as the, they are less sensitive to the expense on electricity. So, but one thing we have realized when we implemented all these prepaid mechanism is the tariff structure. We have to see in prepaid system, the tariff structure should be such that it is very, simple, and from the perspective of consumer, they can easily see their expense and the use of meter. So, and further, if they are using tokens in case of CT or STS meter, it should be very easy to recharge, and that boosts the prepaid option. But since it is smart prepaid, the other payment mechanism like online payment and like app payments, do away with that, the recharge kind of thing. So as I said, the technology should permit switching from prepaid to postpaid or vice versa. And the next slide, please. Next slide, please. Yes. So we in UP are implementing the real-time data acquisition system, and that is on the SCADA platform. And we are also implementing smart meters. So we see there is a lot of merit in the case of integration of smart meters with distribution automation system. And perhaps there are a lot of challenges, like and protocols are different, and the data repositories are different, and how to converge both the system at one place. So what we have thought, we have thought about an approach that would integrate the data coming from the multiple head-end systems. That is one for the distribution automation system, other from smart meters, and there are other head-end systems which we also use. So we have formulated an approach of cloud-based integration, which I will try to exhibit in the next slide. It would be event-driven, and perhaps the most challenge will come from data standardization and common data format and data exchange between the systems. So, but there are technologies and managed services available on the cloud, which would help in this, and applications that we envisage that can be integrated with this. If you have multiple billing systems, the data would come. You have legacy MDAS, I mean, as we have from the RAP DRP part, and if you have multiple meter data management system, as we have one from ESL project, and some always we have multiple head-end systems, SCADA solution that we are using, and there are several other OT platform also. So data, I mean, can be integrated and through the cloud service, managed cloud services. So next slide, please. So that I will try to exhibit how we have thought about this. So these are the use cases of IT and OT integration platform. I won't go into the details, and they are obvious, I mean, in nature. The critical meter alarms, fraud alarms, meter health benefits, and my earlier speaker from EDF have also, I mean, elaborated on that. But what type of integration method we can use is given in this slide. So, I mean, from which source system to which destination system, what integration method we can use is given here. And we can always have, I mean, improvised version of this, but this is how we have, I mean, went for this type of thing. This is not yet implemented. This is as of now is a concept stage, and we want to implement in next 2-3 months. Next slide, please. So this is the function. These are the functions which will be required when we try to integrate IT and OT platform. Message handling, as I said in earlier slide, there will be different messages coming from source systems and destination going to different destination systems. Message queuing, because a lot of messages would be coming. Message transformation would be required during the transfer to the other platform, I mean, to the common repository. And when there is a stream of data, we need to ingest the data, and that would be perhaps a challenge because at that time you need to analyze the streaming data also, and there will be a function like API request handling, because there will be multiple APIs, and there we need API gateway kind of thing, and this would require a lot of I mean work in the transformation and I mean request handling. So this is all from my side. I would like to have the questions, if any.
Thank you, Mr. Singh. May I now? I think you gave very interesting aspects of how you're going about it in UP. Can I now invite the next speaker, Deepthi Dutt from Amazon Web Services? I would request you to please restrict yourselves to 8 to 9 minutes of time limit, because we're running a little behind the schedule. So over to you, Deepthi.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. It's been a pleasure. It's a pleasure to be on this panel and talking about the 50 million smart meters. I would like to talk about, as AWS, as cloud service provider, leading cloud service provider globally, what really we see the role and how do we really see this happening. Bala, if you can just project the slide, that would be helpful. Thank you. Bala, are you projecting the slide, please? Bala, are you sharing the slides, or should I share slides at my end? Thanks, Bala. So we'll go to next slide, please, second slide. So what I intend to cover today is a quick overview of industry perspective, how we see globally smart metering area shaping up. And then I'll talk about what possible architecture approaches that can be taken to implement to build smart city solutions in India, and how actually DISCOMs can use AWS to build a data warehouse. Next slide, please. The global trends that we are seeing Bala, next slide, please. The global emphasis in utilities that we are seeing global trend is customer engagement and insights, IT transformation, OT transformation. I mean, IT and OT is happening parallelly now, not no more limited to do IT and then do OT. And all this translates into how do we really improve work and asset value management as well. The existing assets that we have, workforce that we have, how do we really use technology, AI, to improve performance of those. Next slide, please. I'm sure most of you are very familiar with the boxes that we see here. I just try to put together, give an overview of the variety that exists in utilities landscape with both respect to IT systems and OT systems. Uh, you know, Ranging from distribution SCADA to smart metering, billing, CIS, so on and so forth. And why I'm starting with this is that, smart metering is actually a thin layer in this overall solution scape. So while we look at smart metering solution, we should also keep in mind that, how that integrates with the larger picture that we have and how do we really help the utilities improve overall AT&C losses that we talk about, because smart metering on its own is not really going to bring down from current 22+% to the desired level of under 10%, right? So we need to look at smart metering in context of the overall utilities, IT and OT systems landscape. Next slide, please. When we talk about the migration that is happening, the refresh, the changes that are happening in this area, the number of architectural challenges that utilities are facing. Bala, if you can move to the next slide, please. All utilities today are going for modernization, and there are some basic architectural challenges that all of them are facing. Given the variety of systems that have come up over a couple of decades and in different technology eras. So, how do you really handle this number and variety of legacy monolithic systems and adopt frontier technologies that are getting deployed today? How do you really collect, manage, and analyze the huge amount of heterogeneous data that is getting generated? The flexibility and scalability required to move these solutions to latest technology, the technology that would have been deployed in early 1990s, late 1990s, and so on and so forth, right? So how do you really manage this variety of solutions that have come up? And also, you cannot really move everything on overnight, right? So the flexibility, scalability, agility, freedom to experiment that is required, all these things actually make cloud more imperative. It's no more really, if, but it's a matter of when each discom really gets it. Next slide, please. Some challenges or critical success factors that we see pertinent to India, besides what I talked about earlier, is we're talking about centralized planning and decentralized execution, right? Ministry of Power, ESL, IntelliSmart, they're doing a lot of work in doing centralized planning. Interoperability across solution providers, the population scale that we talk about, 250 million smart meters that we talk about, we need to ensure interoperability across solution providers. And then finally, we talk about heterogeneity and difference in maturity of different discoms. So how do you handle all these things? And in this context, the cloud and the flexibility that it brings becomes more and more pertinent. Next slide, please. Let me zoom into the smart metering solution itself, since that's the focus of this today's discussion. We all are aware that smart metering deployment needs three distinct sets of solutions as of now. The first layer you have is field devices and communication layer. Next, you have the HES layer, and then you have the MDM layer. And all this in turn needs to integrate with overall billing system, customer care, customer portal, and things like that. So how do we really modernize and take this to the next level? One option is that we continue working with existing OEMs in this area. We have quite a few AWS partners such as Siemens eMeter solution already running globally on AWS for HES, MDM, and things like that. And we have a couple of other such partners. So one option that all utilities have is that look at existing solutions and move those on cloud. And then, then I'll talk about what we can do, interesting things that we can do with data that gets generated. Next slide, please. Another option that we have is to, next slide, please, Bala. Another option that we have is to embrace native features of cloud and build smart meter platform that is truly pay as you use model. This looks like a little busy slide. It's got a lot of boxes with specific technology components. I think the deck will be available to you from ISGF later, and you can, those who are interested can go through this in detail. But idea here is that instead of migrating solutions that were developed about 2 decades ago, There's an option that we can actually develop a platform now. We can create a platform now, which is truly pay as you go model. And it's built using latest technology such as IoT, serverless, data streaming technology, analytics, and things like that. And this approach is not just theoretical. Next slide, please, Bala. We have large utilities globally that have already adopted this approach. One such example is NL. We heard them yesterday in session 3. NL is one of the largest utilities globally, which is serving 64 plus million consumers across 35 countries, headquartered in Italy. And they have already gone for a native AWS smart metering solution, built natively without existing HES MDM system. So they have leveraged AWS IoT solution, data streaming solution, and things like that, which is handling 32 plus million meters already in the country, in their different regions, and it's sending data every 15 minutes, similar to what is happening in India. Background noise. So those who are talking can go on mute, please. Uh, so NL has already built a smart metering solution natively on AWS to handle 32 plus million meters, sending data every 15 minutes onto their overall solution. And how did they reach that stage? It didn't really happen suddenly. They had a very well laid out plan, a roadmap to get that started. So they started with a cloud first strategy, wherein the new solutions that they were deploying, that was moving on cloud, and then they moved into cloud only strategy, and then serverless IoT, and now they're moving towards AI ML completely. Next slide, please. We have plethora of such global customers and partners, NL, NG, New York Power Authority, so on and so forth, who are already working on AWS. In India as well, we have two of the largest DISCOMs embracing AWS. One of them has moved their complete ERP, billing, CIA systems, etc. to AWS. Another has started moving customer-facing applications on AWS, and both of them are now considering, much larger IT, OT systems as well, moving those to cloud. I invite everyone to our booth in exhibition area to know more about our global and Indian customers. Next slide, please. Now let's talk a little about what smart meter really helps us in. Remote meter reading, meter management is an obvious benefit, but what can we do with data being generated every 15 minutes from millions of meters, right? First, a data-driven utility, should look at data as of now, get as real time as possible, and not really try and look at data which is week old or month old. And then system should be capable of handling normal events volume as well as exceptional events that will have a huge flood of events come in. Like for example, if you have an outage and few hundreds, thousands, millions of events can come in, right? So how do you really build a system that enables all of this? Also, as of today, only few use cases are known of leveraging data. Once we bring all key utility data onto a single integrated platform on a data lake, then more use cases can be explored that utilities can talk about. EDF person before me had talked about very interesting use cases that they are implementing. Next slide, please. And once you have this data available in a central repository, there is so much more that you can do with machine learning, AI, ML. It's being talked about a lot, the humongous data that's getting generated, what we can do on top of that. I had a few use cases listed, but I think in paucity of time, I'll skim through those. But yeah, what AIML really needs is that you have to build large volume of data, train models, that flexibility required, the ability to experiment that is required, and all these things actually makes cloud computing more and more pertinent to really take advantages and move out there. Next slide, please. This is something I want to focus on, and Mr. AP Singh before me also touched upon this, that today more and more importance of getting your IT and OT systems together. Traditionally IT applications and SCADA systems have been operating in silos, both as IT systems as well as organizational functions. Now it's time to move beyond siloed analytics department level approach and actually look at how do you really bring it all together. There are multiple approaches that we can take. One of the simplistic approaches, and we have seen this work very well in other countries and other industries, is build a central data lake, a common data lake, which actually takes data from a wide variety of systems. You don't really have to worry about getting each of your system on a common protocol, common standard, and things like that, right? So take up what you see on the left hand side essentially will become all your input systems. So from a variety of smart metering, SCADA, DMS, ERP, GIS, workforce, energy settlement, so on and so forth. What you see on the right-hand side are primarily consumers of data coming in from data lake. As Mr. AP Singh also talked about, even if you look at just smart metering or billing systems, a utility would have a variety of systems, through something else implemented during RAP, DRP, something else for non-RAP, DRP, and things like that. Within SCADA, DMS, solutions would have been implemented over years. So again, variety of solutions that you will have. So when you take this data lake kind of an approach, and you don't really have to worry about making everything homogeneous, right? So in this chart, what you see is on left-hand side are primarily input systems, right-hand side, what you have are primarily the consumers of that data lake. What you see on top is basically, analytics dashboard, command center, machine learning, as how a utility can make use of that data to really improve the operations of the utilities. And what you see on the bottom side, enabling DevOps environment, external systems, open data innovation. So if a utility really wants to expose their system to, say, smart city systems, or allow for innovation, developers, startup community to come and play around. So again, the data lake allows you to expose data in certain ways that can actually be used in a much more meaningful way. Next slide, please. So, essentially, what is data lake really? It allows you to create centralized repository that allows structured and unstructured data without worrying about getting everything in a common format in a standardized way. Data is stored as is without having to, play around with it much. You can use that data for all machine learning, real-time analytics, business intelligence, so on and so forth, and it supports rapid ingestion from different variety. Next slide, please. Talking about how do you really build data lake on AWS, AWS has got this entire massive capability, and we actually have customers like FINRA in US, who are ingesting billions of records every day on a daily basis. So it allows you a platform to do data ingestion from a wide variety of system in a very huge volume kind of a way. You have the analytics and serving layer where you can use that data to build better solutions and make use of that data, coupled with ability to catalog and search the data, define your user access and user interfaces, and then security and management of all the data that comes along with it. Next slide, please. That would be my last slide. The benefits of building a data lake on AWS. Here we talk about you inherit the security and compliances that come in by default from hyperscale service providers like AWS. Scalability that you get. You don't really have to do entire capacity planning upfront. Cost efficiency that comes from pay-as-you-go model, as in when you need innovation and agility, that you experiment, you build solutions on the fly and things like that. And with this, I would like to thank you all. And last slide, please, Bala. And I would invite you all to meet us in the exhibition area. We have some interesting videos and brochures there. We have our team there, so you can connect with us and we can discuss how we collaborate on taking some of these things forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Deepti. Now, in the interest of time, I request Anurag Johari from Accenture India to give his presentation. Anurag, if I could request you to please, follow the timelines of 8 minutes.
Yes, please. Sure. Hi, everyone. Sorry, I'm just presenting. Let me just see if is the slide visible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, excellent. So as someone who has had the honor of contributing to the development of ICT architecture for the implementation of 250 million smart meters, I see smart meters as one of the most significant pieces of technology which will impact across all facets of power, right? It's not only the DISCOMs, but I see them impacting all facets of power. And in the interest of time, what I have decided to do is just pick up one of the topics from the 4 or 5 which were mentioned in the agenda. In my view, while investments in distribution automation and distribution generation are made, smart meters will act as a force multiplier and enablers on multiple counts, as can be depicted on the slide, right? And rather than reading through each one of these, which I am sure all of us are quite well versed with, I would like to go to an example which will kind of talk about how they really help. So let's pick up the example of rooftop solar. And the reason I picked this up is that if you look at India's scheme of things, rooftop solar needs to put in about 40% of the 100 gigawatt which is promised to the nation by 2022. Now, if you have been following the developments lately, there is a raging debate on gross versus net metering, right? I'll not go into the merits of either of them, but I think that's a huge important point which needs to be addressed, right? The second point which also needs to be addressed is regarding being fair to the utilities, because at the end of the day, via net metering, what is happening is that there are consumers who are putting in energy, which is actually at times when the tariffs could be low, and then they are using energy when the tariffs are actually going to be higher. So how do we compensate for that, while again not taking away some of the mechanisms which kind of give the incentive to the consumers to do rooftop solar, for example, right? So to my mind, one way of doing this could be getting these smart meters and using their advantage of granular data at each 15-minute intervals or whatever intervals we want to go with, and look at their two-way communication so that we are able to do a net metering which is instantaneous. What it will do is two things. One, it is a fairer system, number one, and number two, it is in a way going to encourage consumers to use electricity more when they are producing that electricity, and when they are producing that electricity and when the demand for that electricity is on the lower side. So in a way, it also automatically helps in demand response as well. The second piece I would want to talk about is on this slide. This is how typically today the advanced meter infrastructure is placed. So essentially, smart meters will send data to the MDM systems, which process the information, and then they send the control signals to the controls center, right? This current landscape, the problem with this landscape is that there is no real-time decision making, right? Because the communication happens via multiple mediums and layers of applications. And the constraints of network latency and delays in switching operation, they do not allow you to take real-time decisions. So those decisions get delayed. Now, let's look at a system wherein smart meters come in along with the advantage of the low latency 5G network and fiber optical networks, right? In this case, and you also introduce the edge devices of the grid, and then magic starts happening, because what then happens is that you are able to have real-time communication, right? There is intelligent configuration in meter and meter data concentrators can enable the peripheral devices to communicate with actionable commands and share information with low latency and high accuracy. If I were to look at few cases, some of the examples where this can come to light is, say, theft analytics and management. You could also look at grid stability and frequency management, power management, consumer profile management. And if I were to pick up consumer profile management, for example, what would happen is that if there is any deviation in voltage profile, then this data is only processed in MDM systems as on today, right? But in the edge computing smart metering systems, detection of deviation in voltage profile can be enabled to detect faster and actionable commands that can be generated directly by the smart meter, right? And if we utilize smart meters' ability to differentiate the outcomes based on the voltage profile and categorize them into theft, communication issues, or power stability issue, so appropriate action can be taken. So essentially, two things are happening. In one single instance, in real time, you are able to take one, if you like, event and look at it through three different lenses and take appropriate action. To my mind, that is what I call magic, right? And that is the true application which will happen once smart meters are coupled with, the 5G networks or the fiber optical networks, which are going to have much lower latency than today's networks. The third thing I wanted to talk about is the key considerations. Now, smart meters on their own, right, are quite powerful, but the only way in which they will get substantiated in the real world is through 5 or 6 considerations, which I have listed down on this slide. Again, in the paucity of time, I'll not go through each one of them, but I would still kind of call out strategy and policy is going to be very important, because without the right strategy, most of the things will fall flat. So how we strategize, what are the kind of things we look at when we are taking policy level decisions, that is going to be extremely important. Secondly, selection of the right architecture, which is simplified, right? It has to be simplified, and it has to be something which the utilities can work with. So that is again very important. Strong security and privacy requirements, I think this requires a totally different forum to talk about, because it is so important and at the heart of the things. So security and privacy requirements will actually, to my mind, get enhanced because of smart meters, given all the communication which is going to happen, and because it actually makes the network vulnerable to a lot of things. And finally, some of the other things which I don't think I need to expound upon, it is going to help, if the optimized operational performance, advanced outage intelligence needs, and the energy audit again can be looked at. So these considerations should form the center of attraction when we are looking at inclusion of smart meters in our networks. So on that note, I would want to thank everyone for listening to me. I'm happy to answer any quick questions, please.
Thank you, Anurag. May I now move to the next speaker, Mr. Basak, Chief Commercial, Tata Power Delhi Distribution Limited.
Good afternoon, everybody. Bala, can I have presentation slides? I will start with just introducing my company. I am from representing Tata Power Delhi Distribution Limited, and this is a company in the we are a joint venture with Government of Delhi, and our customer base is around 1.8 million customer. Around last two years, we have been working on smart meters. Can we go to the next slide, please? Yeah, and we have already deployed 2 lakh smart meters with a communication efficiency of around 98 to 99%. On the daily read, monthly read, and also the interval part is around 95%. And basically the modules that have been deployed and in use now are just now, as Accenture person has said, net meters, postpaid to prepaid, around 100 prepaid meters have been installed, smart meters. Basically the net meters and the prepaid meters, they are on the smart meters. What we are doing, we are making certain upgradation by changing the firmware, and this is helping us to use it as a prepaid meter and also as a net meter. Revenue protection, connect, disconnect functionalities, and also the dashboards. And in the mobile app, we are making consumption details, alerts, TOU consumptions, prepaid details available to the customer. Next slide, please. With the experience that we have gathered till now in smart meters, now looking at the consideration of the national government for introducing 250 million smart meters, we wanted to share our experience, at the top of the pyramid comes the customer. What we thought is that basically this will require a great awareness and participation of the customer, and mostly we forget the customers for whom we are doing it. And here the customers, if they do not find value, then this entire project may fail. So customer centricity is, or customer attention towards customer is of primary importance. From the product perspective, unified product, what I meant to say in this is because we have experienced this, whenever it is the same communication provider and supplying us with meter, then things are very smooth. But whenever we want to integrate some makes of different categories, some different OEMs, then the struggle starts. And because basically there are certain proprietary issues for which the HES has to be, the change has to come in the next upgrades of the HES, and then the synchronization of the designs, the NIC part has to be procured from the same service provider. So all these things become very, very complicated. And for the meter manufacturer also, they have to get it again certified by the BIS. So each and every step there are hurdles when the point comes of integrating with other manufacturers. So this is something that has to be worked upon, and so that this unification of the standardization of the products are there, and the proprietary issues are also reduced. Coming to the control part in the regulation, there is like in Delhi, it is around 15 years, the life of the meter is considered. But our suggestion is that it should be at par when it is absolutely electronic. Along with the NIC, it should be at par with the other IT and electronic products, which is around 5 years. And understanding the priorities of the customers, and also like, I think some part has been cut off, like what exactly the consumer wants and what the DISCOM's priorities are. Say, for example, in our case, when we started the smart metering project, we had already brought down the losses to less than 8%. And at that time, basically our priority was not reduction of AT&C loss. Our priority was futuristic, how to make the ends meet of a smart grid technology, how to bring in e-vehicles, how to enable our network for encouraging more prosumers through the concept of buying and selling by the solar, the rooftop solar consumers, by consumers like who are trying to use their e-vehicles to charge and also to give back to the grid, and also like integrating the DER, distributed energy resources, like battery energy system, BESS, and other microgrids, so that it becomes absolutely a controlled, integrated system, and how to have a IT and OT integration. So, so those are certain things that was our priorities. Can we go back, go to the next slide, please? Now, these are some of the advantages that we are perceiving, and also we have got by now in the commercial perspective, like manual, remote reconnection and disconnection, real-time energy audits, reduction in billing cycle time, then reduction in AT&C losses, and in the operational part, better demand response management, real-time power quality monitoring, reduction in power purchase cost through better utilization of the data and better analysis, use of analytics, so that we can get more granular level of predictions, so that which will help us in better predicting the power requirement, faster outage detection, and also DT health and phase balancing. We will emphasize on the DT health on the later screens, slides. And from the customer perspective, enablement for renewable integration, less outage, consumption monitoring, home automation enablement, low energy bills, TOU tariffs, error-free billing. These are from the customer perspective. And definitely, it covers in the less outage, the concept of last gasp, which is very, very unique to smart metering, where customer can do not need to call the call center. The information of the meter outage, the notification automatically gets generated through the smart meters, and it is information is sent to the crew for sending crew to attend the outage. Next slide, please. The question was like between OPEX and model and the CAPEX model. In the OPEX model, really there is a issue of dependency because we as a utility become too much dependent on the service provider, and because everything is in their control, and the modification cost is also very high. But when if we are in a situation that the skill sets are low and the financial condition is not good, then it is definitely advisable to go in for this model. But in our case, we had gone in for CAPEX model with RF, and also we are thinking of having NB-IoT along with that. Because in our case, we have a trained skill set and skilled manpower, and we are looking for more futuristic developments, and so smart metering and smart grid, we want to use that as a better for a better future. So basically, it will be a thing of innovation, and we will be we want that independence to work on it with our own skill sets. So it is a matter of choice how the utility wants to operate. If they are basically focused on reduction of loss, then yes, OPEX model is good. But if they are focused on the future and with much more to bring in the plate, then definitely CAPEX model will give them more leverage and flexibility. Next slide, please. Yeah, here we have tried to show you a use case where we are introducing the DI-DO concept. Like basically what we are trying to do, we have installed sensors in the transformer to monitor the health, like oil level, temperature, oil temperature, cover open, all those parameters, 5 sensors that are there independently, separately monitoring separate parameters of the transformer. And they are in the smart meter, we have 5 input points, the 5 DIs we are calling digital inputs, and constantly they are sending informations. And whenever there is a deviation from the threshold values, that is the algorithm within the smart meter senses certain abnormalities, and they send a trigger, and that trigger goes through the DO, that is the digital output signal, and that which triggers the relay switch, and ultimately it operates the ACB, and the transformer is disconnected. And at the same time, information goes through the HES to the SCADA, where the information is updated. So this is the structure we are working on, so which constantly will monitor the health of the transformer, and preventive actions also be taken accordingly. Next slide, please. So this is the basically pictorially we are trying to show you the DI points and the DO point. Yeah, we can go to the next slide. The challenges that one definite challenge was the redesigning the smart meter to read the digital inputs from designing the algorithm in the smart meter, then making the canopy ready to take the network packets along with the other smart data, and application algorithms, creating automated algorithms for interpreting the sensor data, and the integration with the SCADA. So these are the major challenges that we faced, and we are working on these. In just the next slide, please. Yeah, this is to elaborate on the net metering part. We have more than 600 consumers with net meters, and around we have successfully implemented smart meters as net meters, and which is, as just my previous speaker had emphasized, how the smart net meters are giving us instantaneous information, bidirectional information, which is helping us, helping the customer to buy and sell whenever at any point of time, rather than waiting for the month-end reconciliation. So at present, it is basically the month-end reconciliation that is being done. But a time will come when in the daytime, when they are producing more and they are using less, they can instantly sell it. And that is something through a blockchain methodology. We are also trying to work on a project where we are trying to have consumers and prosumers in the same partnership, and so that there is a sort of a agreement between them, so they can sell power. Though now it has not gone to the regulator part, because selling power or buying power means that there is some transactions, monetary transactions involved in that, for which the tariff and other things has to be approved by the regulator. But we are just making a pilot where then a case study of it will be put up to the regulator for making it a viable proposition. TOD benefits definitely have been configured in the meters that have been implemented wherever it is applicable. Next slide, please. Coming to the prepayment, like more than 100 meters have been remotely configured. The firmware upgradation has been done and converted into prepaid smart meter. And here what we are doing is entire billing system. We are taking advantage of the billing system in SAP. Well, that is our standard billing system. And so no calculations are being done in the meter stage. The informations are being, so the entire billing is done at the back end only, and only through communication, the meter is reflecting it and adjusting the payments against it. So basically, it is a prepayment prepaid meter, but all the control is in the back end. So any the difficulties that we had been facing till now with normal static prepaid meter, that is a difficulty in remote recharging, then tariff updation, balance availability, and all these things. So these are all avoided, and instantly whatever configuration changes has been done in the system, that gets reflected instantly in the meter. Can we go to the next slide? This is what we are thinking, trying to make ourselves an absolutely automated company, future ready, and to make full use of the smart grid technology and the developments that are coming up in the technology side. We are trying to take full advantage of it to make the system more automated and digitized, covering advanced DMS, electric vehicles, field force automations. Most of these we have already implemented, and now we need, gradually we will integrate everything into one common network, which is the smart grid. Thank you. And with this, I would like to end. Thank you. Any questions?
questions we will take towards the end of the session. I'm going to request the moderator, Ms. Apurva, to please take over.
Okay. So
thank you very
I'm
much.
through with this presentation.
Thank you so much, sir. I think there seems to be a communication error. I can't seem to reach out to our moderator, Ms. Chaturvedi. So I'm going to, there she is. She's unable to unmute herself. So while she comes back, I'm going to request Shri Bikash Diwan, Managing Director, Dhaka Power Company.
Can I have the share screen?
Shri Diwan, you have a presentation?
Yes. Yes. Can you see the presentation?
Yes, we'll be able to.
Okay, thank you.
Please go ahead.
Okay. First of all, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I express my heartfelt gratitude to the organizers for inviting me to share our experience. So, actually, a lot of issues has been discussed. I will not go that much of it, but just I will share my ideas. Uh, uh, you see, our vision, that means our government vision, our government power generation target is we have already targeted 40,000 megawatt 2021, which is our Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina dream. So in this way, we are working on it as per our SDC goal. Next is then now we are celebrating our Mujib. That means now our Mujib is celebration is going on. Our father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, who has led our country for the independence. On this occasion, we are celebrating it. And in this Mujib year, the birth of centenary of father of our country, we are expecting that our access of electricity will be 100%. Now it is 99%. I believe at the end of this year it will be 100%. So it is our big achievement for our country. Next is that it is our sector at a glance. Then digitalization of Bangladesh. Bangladesh has shown a significant progress in the digital transformation. A program A2I, access of information. With this access of information, we are working with a lot of programs. One is that the e-government, e-procurement, and e-noti means e-file. So implementing this program, actually government has taken a lot of initiative to modify our service processes. For this reason, for these connections, our time, cost, and quality has been reduced. So we are improving ourselves, and this work also working in every sector. It is about the PDC. As you know, I came from Dhaka Power Distribution Company. It is we supplies electricity to the major household in Dhaka and adjacent Narayanganj city. DPDC has taken up this challenge of supplying electricity to the world most densely populated city. Dhaka city, very densely populated, and DPDC commercially started into functional of commercialization from July 2008. It is our some profile. As you can see that our system loss is about 7%, but still we have to which we have a target up to 5, as because we are implementing smart prepaid and prepaid meter. We are coming back with this issue. Now, digitalization of DPDC. To transform DPDC as a digital utility for better consumer service, we have taken a lot of things. So one of the issues is that to keep the improving the existing business into ICT and supply of electricity, one of the most important issues to the customers with quality electricity with service excellence by adding big data centric infrastructure. So this is one of the issue for us. And IT/OT integration is also one of the issue. And even then, developing IT-oriented human resources. Otherwise, if we cannot transform ourselves, if we cannot make our people train, it could not be happen. That we are talking about the digitalization. During the COVID, it has a big impact on the COVID. So we are not different. COVID has played a crucial role in pushing for this digital transformation. Because of this pandemic, people are now bound to think differently as they need to shift their business to a digital platform to avoid physical interaction. So now people have it changed. Now meetings are held through online, mobile, and internet banking are accelerated significantly. And utility customers are now very interested to pay their bills in online system. This is the just figure of our customers. We have about 1.54 million customers. Out of the 67% is postpaid, and the rest 33% are prepaid. But these prepaid meters are mixed with STS and CTC, and mostly are from the meter card. This time, as people was in a pandemic situation, they used to recharge their meter by not depending on our office vending stations or bank. So in that time, we have engaged a lot of third-party vending or point of sales of different people. Even though people went to the customers' premises to recharge them. So it is a beauty that we have done at that time. This is the short service that we have. We have e-connections, we have AMR meter, we have SMS and email posted customer. Bill can be prepared from the website if customer knows. Online payment, and we have every sort of issues on online payment. A lot of windows are there. Even we have a payment system with other utility, other process also. We have blockchain method also. And in the meantime, we have introduced ERP. It is just started, and we have also GIS distribution network. It is now implemented in not only in project or pending areas. It is now applying with operations system. We have a strong call center. Now we have some ongoing some mega project. Under this project, there will be 52 numbers of substation. Out of them, 10 numbers 100 substation, and SCADA will be built. We had a SCADA, but it became in not that much of in good operation. We are going to augment it, and it is the first time here in Bangladesh underground substation is going to be built in our JICA project. And obviously the smart metering project. In this project, underground system about 8.5 lakh will be implemented, and this will increase the customer service and strengthen the monitoring system. And this MAI will be part of the smart grid later. Again, we have a smart grid pilot project under the grant of FG finance with European Union. We have got an amount for a pilot project of a smart grid system, which will be launched just considering with 5 substations. And there will be automation system, SCADA, OMS, and GMS. And later it will be integrated with the SCADA. This is the rollout system. As you know, we have 1.45. In the meantime, we have already 4.70 lakh, 4,70,000. But we are now going for the smart meter. In the meantime, we have already made a project which is just going on. And this project is implementing with RF based with our area of 225 square kilometer, and already the procurement has already been in under process. We have the Oracle CTM and the billing system, and where the Tech Mahindra IT is working on it, and also we have finalized our allocated bandwidth with 922 to 925 megahertz from the BTRC, and this has also will be for the has Lenis Gear is working on it, and smart meter almost finalized with the OVIC code and even as per IC. And other DC and DR for the hardware, it also been finalized. And mostly that we are actually scared about the networking, as Mr. Silvan said, the PLC is using in France and in some other area with hybrid. But we are actually became very confident with the RF mesh. That's why it is working on it. In the meantime, we have worked with it. And first of all, we'll install 10,000 smart perimeter. Then other will be scalable with time by time. So this is the solution architecture. Actually, there is nothing to be described more. And mobile lab here is the mobile applications. Customer will be able to recharge meter through mobile app. Different bank and financial service will be integrated with this app. So the customers have a lots of options for payment, and this shows the customer mobile how it will actually work. Through this mobile app, customer can easily check use of electricity, consumptions, or everything, and even then the customer will get message through apps regarding low credit or their overuse or sanction load or even billing information and disconnection notice, etc. So it will be very much helpful for our customers also, and because nowadays what actually Apurva and Mr. Anurag also described the issues, how the rollout will be come up. Actually, rollout is a very big issue. It is depending upon the scalability and the decision making, communications, and the consumers' participation. How actually consumers are thinking about it, and knowledge sharing, and also capacity building. In the meantime, though, we have already with different sectors of people to make them understand and to get them knowledgeable, so that they can, from the first day of the project, they can go get it with so that they can make it in good operation. So this is a very crucial issue, as I have already came to know. Lastly, we have a smart grid project, as I said, which is a pilot project. This smart grid project aims to provide more reliable and quality supply by deploying innovative solutions for the automation and digitalization of the current distribution grid in DPDC. The smart grid pilot will be implemented in 5 substations out of our 70 number substation in Dhaka. So main expected objective of the pilots would be to demonstrate the substation feeders automation. To improve service reliability and implementing automation system for fault detection and isolation and service restoration. So for this region, there are a lot of key technologies. In the meantime, we have conducted a survey with AFD consultant from an engaged consultant. They have already given a note and recommendations how it could be established and how it will be installed, what perspective it should be done, like what type of smart sensors, RTUs and relays will be applied or used, and what kind of smart grid applications will be used, because it is the brain of the smart grid which elaborate the input and information and necessary takes action. And it also needs to include with the SCADA, OMS, AIS and other applications also. So actually smart field devices that makes possible to implement the control from the smart grid, definitely it will allow substation, automation and distribution system. So that's all from my part from the PDC. Actually, we are now, how to say, learning from different utilities. Thank you, India Smart Grid Forum, to giving us an opportunity to share and to get knowledge. This kind of platform actually very much important for us to know ourselves. Lastly, again, thank you all.
Thank you very much, sir. Ms. Chaturvedi, I think is still.
Yeah. Hi, I'm back. Thank you, Mr. Diwan. For Bangladesh vision and roadmap ahead on smart grids. Can I now request Chandrasiri Gonavardhana from Lanka Electricity Company to share their views? Chandrasiri, can you hear me? Is he there?
Yes, ma'am, he's there. I mean, I can see him as the participant. There he is, I think, coming on. Sri Chandrasiri Gunavardhana from Lanka Electricity Company. Sir, may I request you to please share your views now?
Chandrasiri, are you there? Are you having trouble connecting? We are actually running out of time, so
I think, ma'am, there's an unexpected snag.
So should we go ahead with the video by on innovation in power and utilities?
Yes, ma'am.
In the meantime, yeah, please play that. And if Chandrasiri is able to connect back, we'll have him speak.
The reason that we did choose AWS over other environments, I think, was that we felt the culture of the AWS was very similar to either the culture that we believe that we have internally, the one that we're trying to recreate. And that is that it's a customer-orientated company, which is very important to us. Two, it's based on innovation, which is important for us as well, given the changing landscape of the energy market. It's very focused on value creation, which is very important for us as well. It made it very easy for AWS to understand what our business pressures were, because we effectively spoke the same language.
And the thing that I'm just thrilled about, the thing that really keeps me going when I look into the future, is something that will allow us to lower our cost and be more innovative. And that is getting out of the data center business altogether.
AWS has had an amazing impact on my business. Using AWS services is almost like having a second development team working alongside us, allowing us to innovate faster and deliver a great experience to our customers.
I'm always surprised about the pace of innovation.
And we elected AWS IoT as the enabling platform for IoT in NL, because we needed a scalable, reliable, and integrated solution on which to build our new energy management system.
Is Chandrasuri now there?
No, ma'am. He actually dropped out because he was getting late, I think, and now we'll have to go on to the next session quickly.
Okay. So,
but
in
before
that,
we'll also want to tell all the speakers that we need to take a group picture. So whoever's there, please stay back and get your cameras on so that we'll take a group picture. But before that, you conclude, and then we'll take the group photo. Thank you.
So, any questions that have come up? Are we taking those questions?
Ma'am, unfortunately, because we're so far behind.
I know. Okay. Then let me just conclude then. So first of all, sorry we are not able to take questions, but I hope our panelists gave you good insights into what they think about smart meters, their own experiences of their own companies or utilities. So just to kind of sum up, you heard our chair that the Government of India is looking to shift gears now, increase governance, accountability, private participation to improve operational and financial performance of utilities. And the time for 2.0 reforms has come in, and smart meter would be a big game changer. We heard from Mr. Rajesh Gowda that regulators need to be onboarded. Business case beyond AT&C loss reduction is needed. States need handholding support. This is what came from one of the panelists. And Mr. Singh from UPPCL thought that OPEX model was a preferred model and needed a strong partner ecosystem. Pre or post-paid depends on consumer profile and financial condition of DISCOMs. Choice to consumers may be considered. This came from Deepthi. Smart meters to eventually lead to IT/OT integration, which is a necessity for operational performance improvement, and managing architectural challenges make cloud-based implementation imperative. Smart meters would be force multiplier for customer satisfaction, grid reliability, our integration, and strategic and policy actions, right architecture, strong security should form central theme of smart meter rollout. Delhi experience has shown that smart meters result in commercial and operational improvement in DISCOMs and also enables consumer empowerment. Mr. Bikash Diwan from Bangladesh said that COVID accelerated digital transformation in Bangladesh, and DPDC has 100% smart metering target in 3 years. Innovative payment options and smart applications are enhancing consumer service. So these were just some of the summary points that I could make out from the discussions we had. Hopefully, all the participants had interesting things to takeaways from today's session in this workshop. I would like to thank ISGF particularly for bringing such a pertinent topic to the fore in difficult times like COVID, and also this gives opportunity to highlight why smart meters are the force to reckon with in the coming times. So with that, I would like to thank all the panelists, the chair, ISGF, and all the participants who've been throughout. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Apurva, for moderating that excellent conversation, and also to our chair. Thank you so much to Shri Kapoor. He had to leave earlier. And all our speakers, of course. Now I'm going to request all the speakers, including our moderator, Ms. Apurva, to please start your cameras so that we can take a grid photo with all of you, a group picture, a virtual group picture, and I'd request you all to please smile for that. Thank you. That's it. Thank you very much once again to all of you.
of